Well, I finally did it. I finally got around to watching the Chernobyl series on HBO. Uh, my opinions on it is a drama film, a disaster film, a courtroom drama, and in some aspects, a horror film. It's very, very good. Maybe I shouldn't be using the term film. It's a, what is it called? A mini series, right? But it is very, very well made. And unlike HBO does a lot of the times, I don't remember it having like gratuitous nudity or anything like that. So that's pretty good. But the movie obviously is a scare piece both towards Russia. It's trying to demonize Russia in a certain sense, right? And it's obviously a anti-nuclear movie. Now, as somebody as a bottleneck believer, collapsologist, I kind of believe that we're going to reach a point where we're forced into nuclear power where we don't know how to use it, or we don't have the capability to use it anymore. And it's not that nuclear power is necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a very, very good thing. There are obviously tremendous dangers with it. The problem is that human error increases as human capital decreases. So we're going to head towards a situation where we're not smart enough to run these reactors when we run out of oil and natural gas and coal. We're going to be forced into using these reactors when we don't have the human capital in order to do so. When we reach that point, there's going to be a lot more nuclear accidents, and that's a pretty scary prospect. In my belief as a bottleneck theorist, a collapsologist, if you will. But the movie obviously is to be anti-nuclear because nuclear power is the only real thing that can get in the way of the money-making formula of global warming is going to kill us any second or any 5 years from the last 5 years or whatever. Every 5 years, every 10 years, we're doomed. And uh, we're going to buy renewable resources and it'll magically reverse this global warming, which is going to kill us every 5 years. The only thing that could break out of that cycle is really nuclear power. And nuclear power is a tremendous threat to that money-making scheme. So you really got to demonize it, and that's where this comes in. And of course, it's anti-Russian, and it has, characters, like Comrade. And I've done this myself, right? And the movie depicts the Soviet Union as far, far, far more totalitarian than it was in the 1980s. It is the way it would be during like the peak of the Great Terror, basically, and in the Gorbachev era. It's the early Gorbachev era before he started, the wheels started coming off, but nobody was being summarily executed. The only thing that was true is when they're in the plant and the head engineer, is yelling at all the novice nuclear physicists. He's yelling at them, "You'll never work in energy again." And that's what would happen to these people. They would be blackballed, right? And extremes, because none of them are directly attacking the system, right? They're going to be, put into a mental institution. It was very, very rare for somebody to be executed at this point. Mental institutions during the Brezhnev era took the brunt of dissidents, and that's what would happen to dissidents in this era. They would be put in mental institutions. And the movie has some current Western ideology of its own, right? Olena Kolmek, or whatever her name is in this, she is this culmination of all these Soviet scientists that were working at the side of what's the other guy's name? Legasov. So they're working at the side of him. All these scientists, they all put all these male scientists and have one female scientist. All of them. It's pretty poetic, really. You have dozens of male scientists, right? In real life that have to do all these tasks, right? But in fiction, dozens of male scientists are nowhere near as good as a single female scientist. It's a thing of beauty in modern West. I shouldn't use Western. Hollywood, HBO, British cinema type of thinking, a world understanding, world building. It's pretty funny. But overall, I really did think it was pretty entertaining. It's pretty good. It does show the effects of radiation as pretty dark and dangerous. It shows, people being afraid of what's going to happen, people in utter shock and paralysis and terror of what's going to happen, people grotesquely overestimating the danger of Chernobyl. And there's two things, and it's a historical drama, and there's two things I really wished it had. I wish it had the May Day parade that the Communist Party of Ukraine forced out and did in the radiation in Kiev. And I wish it talked about the paranoia and mass hysteria that it caused, leading to hundreds of thousands of European children being aborted. But the movie didn't really touch on that. I wouldn't think of the hysteria of the abortions would get covered by the movie and its kind of ideology. But I was really surprised it didn't show the Kiev May Day parade, because whenever you read anything about the Soviet Union and Chernobyl and Ukraine, in any kind of book, any popular history, they will always talk about the May Day parade in Kiev in 1986. That is a go-to thing to talk about how bad the Communist Party is of the Soviet Union and the Communist Party of Ukraine. It's really a go-to, and they didn't do that, which is kind of sad. But yeah, as I was saying, very, very good, very high production values, a very fun thing to watch.